Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. You had a very long video tomorrow, so today you're going to get a short one. Mainly because my favourite snooker player is coming on soon. Part way through a match. Yesterday's 9-frame session before the break, which went over a day. He was 5-4 up. Both players are top players, and neither of them are playing brilliantly. It's a strange game. There's mistakes on both sides that are just not normal for those two players. But nonetheless, my favourite guy has had serious issues with nerves and the equivalent of whatever it is in snooker of stage fright. He hasn't played a serious match this year, I don't think. He wasn't even definite for this tournament, the World Championships, but he's decided to give it a go and see how he does. But he's one of the oldest players as well. I mean, I think he's nearly 50, which for snooker is quite old. The problem with snooker is not the match that you see, it's the tour that it's part of. The travelling involved, the stopping over, the staying in hotels, and still trying to get some practice in between the matches. It's a hard life. Mind you, the top players don't earn a lot of money. Well, they do if they win anyway. Yes, so that's on this afternoon, so I shall settle down with a glass of wine and watch my favourite player hopefully get through to the next round. But it's not guaranteed. If he was playing at his best, instead of being 5-4, it would have been 9-0, because the other guy ain't playing that well. But when both are not having the best day, it still breaks even, if you see what I mean. If either one of those had been playing at their best, the other one would have been out. You know, they'd have been down. So what I wanted to just discuss is plans first, before we have a look at some things in here, some growing. As you all know, the Cymbidiums will go outside. Now, I'd like to get them outside as soon as the frosts are over. But unfortunately, I don't think they will have all finished blooming by then. So it's difficult to work out, you know, do I put those that have finished blooming out and get them out in the fresh air, get the brighter light? Because although it's bright in here, they've still got subdued light from above. As you take them outside, you remove that. They're open to the elements, even if they're not in sun. So what do? To put them outside, the staging has to be finished. I've got to sort the feet out, and also it gets it out of here. But if there's still some in bloom, it doesn't get all the plants out of here, so some have got to stay in here. They'll need somewhere to go. They're all tall enough that they can't go on anything but a top shelf. That would mean rearranging lots of stuff. That's yet to be determined. I don't know how many will still be in bloom. But some of these were, the ones I came back from Wisley with were already in bloom. So I don't know how long they'd already been in bloom. They might not last too much longer. All of mine, I know when the blooms opened. Obviously, it's in my records. I always record the date first bloomed, or date the first bloom opens, let's put it that way. And then I record the date the last bloom disappears and I cut the spikes off. That gives me how long they stay in bloom in my records, and I keep track of 2 or 3 blooming so that I can compare as well. So I keep notes on that sort of thing. Anyway, so that's that. The Disas, I've been doing a lot more work, and I found the guy that I bought them from has got a website. It's not a very good website, which he professes. He said, you know, he's not a website designer, it's not brilliant, but it has got a list of all of the hybrids he's got, many of which he's produced himself. And quite a lot of them are not registered, so they're just this one crossed with this one sort of thing. But it means I can look at what he's got and possibly get in touch and get some more. But first thing I've got to do is prove that this has worked. Yeah, so this was splitting up one of the big pots with quite a few plants in, sorting out some of the best ones into individual smaller pots, and a little community pot to grow on the side shoots effectively. We need to see that that works. Now, doing a lot more work, I found a lot more UK growers that have done blogs and things like that, documenting stuff. And there have been several that have had catastrophes where they've lost almost the whole collection through nothing more than one day of sun accidentally, or freezing conditions that were unexpected when the plants were soaking wet. Of course, the pots freeze, and what happens with that is, well, this is any plant, not necessarily Disas, but any plant. If it's in a tight pot that's got no give in it, or very little, if it's very wet and it freezes, the ice expands and takes up a lot more space than it did. And if it can't push the pot out of the way, it will crush the roots. And it just basically destroys the roots, so it can happen. It's not necessarily the cold that would kill the plants, but it's the loss of the roots. Anyway, there's also several that are growing them very happily over a reasonable period of time in live sphagnum moss, doing very well in some cases. So perhaps it's not quite so important to absolutely have to use peat, because it would be a lot easier to manage the plants in live sphagnum moss. Now obviously, if it's proper live sphagnum moss, first of all it shouldn't go off. So the need to repot would be based on filling the pot up, not the media going off. Yeah? So some food for thought on the Disas, but at the moment I'm just waiting to see if this idea of splitting them up, albeit a month too late in the year, is actually going to work or not. On top of that, when we looked at the cotyledons and we did all the work on the cotyledons, we had something that was sticking out of one of the plants that looked like it was probably going to be a new growth. That's a spike. That is a spike. And this is a total cascade plant. That's going to keel over the edge of the pot and hang right down. It could have a dozen or more blooms on it. They're not huge, they're attractive, but yeah, so that is definitely a spike. And these ridges here will be where the buds come out. So that's a cascade cotyledon that we can look forward to. And the other thing I wanted to show you, the last thing I wanted, oh no, plans, while I was getting sidetracked there with the Disas. I want my bench and my watering bowl back over here for the summer months. The reason being, I want to be able to see the planted border while I'm working out here, which I do reasonably often, even if it's only watering, and some of my bonsai which will be on display on their stands. My Dishojo's looking exceptionally good at the moment, having been repotted and come into leaf. That's the side view, that's not the front of the plant. It's a lot better than that from the front. But yes, there'll be some of the bonsai on their stands out here. The bird table will get shut down for the summer and moved out the way. And having my workbench here, followed by this low set of shelves, because you know obviously this is not a tall shelf, and that will be all that's on this side basically, is my workbench, watering table, and this set of shelves. So where are they going to go then? Well, obviously they'll just come over here. And that works. Works fine. So that's the plan on moving shelves around. And if you can imagine that this is gone, there's going to be a lot of room out here, an awful lot. And I might, that staging there, it goes right up against the glass, which means when we get the sunshine through the midsummer, literally from the end of April through May, June, July and into August, we get the sun on the roof, and the end of that staging is in it, and it's too much. So when this is out of the way, I think that staging I will turn round sideways so that none of it is in that full sun. And I'll be able to get round it, you know, I'll be able to get at this side of it obviously, and can walk right round to get at the other side because it's a double thickness one. So yeah, that was my idea. And yeah, there's minimal adjustment. The mount that's there, that's got to move, or that will be in full sun. It's all right at the moment, but it needs to move. So what I'm thinking of is if I've got shelving here, then I can't really have the racks above the shelving because they won't fit, and I'd have to lean across the top of the shelving to get at the plants. So that's not on. So those will come over here above my workbench, and they will go sideways on. So instead of, oh, sorry, I'm moving a bit quick. Oh, you heard me well, he's deaf as a post, he can't have heard me speak. How does he know? Come on then, we want to go out. He didn't like it this morning when we got up because it was raining. Rained quite hard in the night. But, he's a little worried at the moment. He's had a problem. He had a large cat that I haven't seen before sat on the shed roof when he went out, and he didn't see it until he got over quite close, and it yowled at him and it moved and it hissed and it upset him. So he's cautious now. You see, he's not moving down the garden. He's having a good look round, and you know, before he moves, he got a bit upset. Never mind, I can't stop other cats coming in the garden, can I? I did shoo it off. But yeah, if you imagine if that is that way round, yeah, then it's going to only come down to here. So working on my workbench underneath it will be fine. And the same with that one. Although that one will hang down a bit further, if it was round that way, it wouldn't hang down that far. And at the moment, those are the only two things I'm going to have with mounted plants on. Although I do have some more plants to mount. So somewhere or another, we're going to have to get another rack up and some more hooks. I'll work on that, I'll think on it. If you think last time, a lot of the mounts were hanging off of staging, you know, they were just hanging off of a shelf. That's not out of the question, that's all right. They get watered more frequently than pots, so as long as I've got access to the pots, you know, behind them, that'll be okay. Anyway, a new bloom. Totally new bloom. Never existed in my grow space before. And it's this little Sarcochilus. This is Fitzgeraldii species. And I will probably get some more Sarcochilus, but I will say something while we talk about, let's say, Cymbidiums. They are all roughly the same. Lots of different colours and patterns, yes, but shape-wise, they're roughly the same. There's not a lot of variety in their shape, is there? And it's the same with many of the orchids. That's probably why I've always had the fascination with the dendrobiums, because in that genus, you've got many, many different shapes. You know, you've got tulip-shaped ones, you've got star-shaped ones, you've got the different shapes as well as the colours and the fragrances, all that sort of stuff. Anyway, I will get a few more Sarcochilus and do a deal with Lynn or something. And again, they tend to have the same shape, but the hybrids are a much closer bloom. So they don't have these big gaps between the petals and sepals. They're more closed in, and quite honestly, as a consequence, are more attractive. But yeah, so we will get some more. But well, you didn't stay out long that time, did you? Come on then. Come on then. Ugh. As soon as I sit down to watch the snooker, he'll be straight on my lap, won't you? Hey? Yes, you will. I'm on them. Ugh. Right, yep, so that's it for today. Hannah's Cymbidium, one spike's already gone over, the other one is gradually dropping its blooms. As soon as that has finished flowering and the flowers have gone, that's going outside. That will go out under the table in the garden where it lived all of last year, all of last summer. And I doubt if we'd have a hard enough frost to actually do any damage to it because it would be sheltered under the table. But if we got a threat of like -2 or something, which is still possible, then I'll just bring it in for that night. It can just sit on the floor. But yeah, so that'll be the first one to go out because that'll be finished blooming shortly. And then we'll go from there. But I need to get on with the feet. I've got the timber, I've got a new saw, I've got screws, got the drill, I've got everything I need. I just need to get on with it, and we have the plan. But to sort those feet out, the staging's got to be turned upside down because I will basically have to take the wheels off to do the job that I want to do. So all of the plants will have to go somewhere while that happens. And it's got to happen before this goes outside. So yes, we will be doing some woodworking in here. So cut the pieces, cut the squares that I want, get them coated up and then fix them. Fix the wheels back on with some suitable screws to have a nice strong fitting so that when it gets bounced around on that uneven patio like happened last year, it doesn't weaken them enough that it actually falls in a heap. Also, plants going outside. It's highly likely the Disas will go out for the summer. They love fresh air, they love air movement, and they like to stay as cool as possible. Well, there are occasions when, there was last year anyway, with some heat wave type situations where it was actually hotter outside than it was in here. But that doesn't happen often. We shall see. But there is a possibility that these might go outside. But then they flower in the summer. So I'd have to bring them back in again. You know, seems a bit daft, doesn't it? We shall see. Let's end on something that is pretty spectacular. We'll end on a nice Coleogyne Lawrenceana. Actually, that's not so easy to get at, that one. Let's get at this one. Let's bring that one down. Oh, he wants to go out again now. Look at the nectar in there. I don't know whether I can get that to focus. Look at the pool of nectar. There's an actual puddle of nectar at the back. Oh, there it goes. It's just run out. There's actually a pool of nectar at the base of that plant. Oh, that's my phone. I'll see you next time. Thanks for dropping by.